Interesting to see as we stick with Dan Camish, 24 years of age now, 24 back in April. I had a chat with him again this weekend. He was feeling the pressure a little bit this weekend with the record number of wins that he was hoping to equal in the first race yesterday. Of course, that record held by Scott Mulvern, admittedly when there were slightly less races in the championship, and he was under a little bit of pressure. There we go. Kruger past Cameron Kaminski. Down the inside he goes. Thong having gone past him, I think, earlier in the lap, so Kaminski having a disappointing lap there and losing a couple of places. Yeah, it'd be frustrating for Cameron. He's, as you said, he's been generally he's had some real strong pace. A couple of podiums already. We saw him on the podium at Alton Park, and as you said at the beginning of the season at Brands Hatch. But in between times, it's been a little bit up and down, but certainly a lot of latent talent in there. Obviously, the racing he did in the States in the 2000 series, amongst other things, showed that. And seems to be adapting to learning the circuits very, very well. And I'm sure if Cameron comes back for another crack at it in 2014, he'll be a real championship challenger. Can you talk us through, though, and tell us what Lassie Hellman is doing with great view, and look at just how very slight the movements are. Talk us through from the driver's perspective. Yeah, well, you have to be very, very smooth with the car, as you would with any circuit, especially here through the Jim Clark S's. He's a little bit further back, so the aero's not going to be affected, but it's full throttle all the way through. Really have to be very precise. Watch here as they turn in. On the exit, it's very easy to run a little bit too wide, and that messes you up in terms of the braking in too sunny. Bit of oversteer sometimes on the way through the first bit, just backing off the throttle to tuck the nose in, being careful not to run too wide on the exit. And here, you have to be very committed, but you can lose the back end of the car, as we saw earlier. Look there, you can just see a little bit of oversteer on turn-in. Got to get back across so that you get a nice, neat run into the right-hander. Try and let it use all the road, and then get back over to the right-hand side and stop the car. You literally almost stop. Has to be so slow in so that you get a nice, neat run back across, and then back on the power to punch up through the gears and across the line for another lap. There they come then down across the line. These are the cars we were looking at out front. Nico Maranzagna third place, and then behind him Lassie Hellman seems to have lost a little bit of ground. Sam McLeod, then it's Juan Rosso, Andy Richardson still running, and then Jake Kruger. He's actually now cutting his way through the field, still behind Sean Thong, who both managed to deal with Cameron Kaminski. Denmark Kaminski, Sam Brabham, but let's see the South African working hard. Looks up the inside. Is he going to have room there? No, there's a little bit more momentum for the Chinese driver, who just manages to get away as they come onto the back straight here, down towards Tower. A little bit of a curve around to the right as they come up to Tower. Turn in, and Thong still there, so Jay Kruger really big mate to work hard after a very disappointing start that we had for him. Starts to basically say went off in qualifying, and if it messes your qualifying up, and there's some answers that say the positions in the race should dictate the following race start, but qualifying, of course, if you have a bad one, then it can wipe out the whole day. Look at the gap back though between first, second and third. Yeah, now starting to get very interesting between these three. Sam McLeod seems to have recovered very well now and got himself back into a bit of a groove in terms of lap times. 1:22.140, which was 6/10 quicker than Lassie Hellman and last time through. In turn was about 3/10 quicker than Nico Maranzagna. Lassie goes wide and having to turn in very, very tight indeed with Sam McLeod up the inside. Sorry to cut across like that. That's okay. That was a very, very interesting little moment. I'm surprised you've not seen more of that. That's usually a Croft moment that you have, isn't it? Yeah, there is. So he goes past, and now here comes Jay Kruger. Jay Kruger's made the pass on Sean Thong. It's a great performance from Thong this weekend as well. Shows what a useful young driver he is. He's been racing out in the east, the Malaysian Super Series, Porsche Carrera Cup Asia, Maserati Series as well. As we said, contesting the BARC Formula Renault. And this is how Jay Kruger managed to pull it off, coming into the hairpin, and he's going to get a better run. Look how tight he keeps it on the exit. Almost forces the Thong car on the outside onto the dirt, and now it's the run down the straight, down towards Clervaux, across the line, and the gritty South African makes up another place. He's going to be the driver with the most passes under his belt this weekend here at Croft. Yeah, definitely, and he's been very, very impressive throughout the weekend. But this young man, well, what can you say about Dan Camish? There, he had one of those situations where it was a bit of a no-win situation for him in terms of the credibility that he was getting, because he's been dominating the races so much. I mean, oh, well, you know, he's in another league, it's not that competitive. But I assure you that it is a
hugely competitive championship. There's so many good, talented drivers in here. There's so many people that could win races, but Cammish, JTR, the engine guys, everyone have just found a little bit of something that's just giving them an edge, totally within the regulations, but they're basically really made a big difference. I was speaking to James Bundy at J when he said, we've changed our cars dramatically, we changed the damper setups, we've changed a lot of things, and we are chipping away and getting closer and closer. And I think between Maranzano, Rosso, Kruger, those guys especially, and of course Harrison Scott has been another driver. Helminen. I wonder if he picked up damage or something in that little incident.
Yeah, may well have done. Here's the onboard view as it comes. It shows you how tight it is coming into pit lane, so you've got to be a little bit of a precision driver to do that. And the engineers nipping over, the Falcon Motorsport engineers just calming him down, get him in, and they'll see if they can possibly get him back out, maybe secure a few more points.
No, that's
game over.
Game over. Lassie, he comes in, he said, the car's a dog, I'm getting out.
At least the engine didn't go woof.
That's true, that's true.
Back with Dan Cammish, and yeah, look, what you were saying about Dan, you know, he's been on a hiding to nothing, but it has been a spectacular opening to the season for him. And, you know, we've got to give him all due credit for winning all those races, and he's had the pressure. He had the pressure at the start of the season. Scott Morvan, of course, was racing at Brands Hatch, and since then, he's had to keep on winning. People are expecting him to do it. So to take the record, he's got the record for the most number of consecutive wins in Formula Ford in 40-odd years.
That's impressive, whichever way you cut the mustard, really is. And Scott Morvan is one of the most talented young single-seater drivers, a winner of the Bark Formula Renault Championship, the first attempt last year, British Formula Ford champion, Formula Ford Festival winner. You know, the list goes on of the success that Scott's had, and it's a crying shame that we've not really seen him out racing. I heard from his dad Dominic the other day that there's a couple of things on the horizon outside of the UK which could be very exciting for him, and I wish them all the very best for that, because it would always be good to see that talent go somewhere where it's worthy of being used, because I think it would have been interesting to see if Scott could have stayed with the championship. If he'd had the budget to do that, then it would have been a wonderful thing to see whether he would have been able to push Cammish hard, because as you said, at Brands Hatch, he was right amongst it. He really got very close to winning the second race. It was a very, very, very clever drive by Dan Cammish to just hold him up in the right places. Scott did everything he could, but he had a bit of bad luck in the first race, and the last race didn't quite work out for him. But you can't take it away from Cammish, from JTR, from everyone involved with the team, that they're giving this young man the equipment and he is making the most of it. And that, of course, is really simple. If you've got the best car and the best driver, then you should be winning races. And that seems to be the case at the moment. No disrespect to the other teams and drivers, because with teams like Jamin and teams like Falcon as down the inside goes Croft.
Oh, look how hard he's working.
He does like an overtake.
He does, fantastic.
You can see that he's picked up a lot of racecraft, and he's still young, 25, as I said earlier, but he's obviously been around motorsport at a relatively high level for quite some time, and it's really translating itself well on a circuit that Andy Richardson knows very well. The Richardson Racing team, again, such a family-run team. Everything's very low-key and low-budget, but they do make the best of the opportunities they've got at Richardson Racing, and they really do impress every time. His drives at Thruxton were absolutely superb, in my opinion.
Yeah, they were, weren't they? 2 podia for him at Thruxton, and Jade Kruger, I don't think he's going to make the podium this weekend because it's the final lap. But the black car just going out of shot there from 13th on the grid has fought his way through. Some superb entertainment for us to come up into 6th position. But this guy at the front, again, held his nerve. He's going to extend this record. Now, of course, he's chasing the most wins in the season, and he needs 18 of those. This will be number 15 if he can hang on to it. It looks like he's going to as he comes up into the hairpin for the last time. A great overhead shot, almost reminiscent of the hairpin at Monaco, isn't it, that one there, that angle. And here he comes to buzz the pit wall. Win number 15, a perfect first half of the season for Dan Cammish on his home track, less than an hour from Leeds, his home, and he's done it again. There is the man who many are tipping to be the first to knock him off his perch. It's Harrison Scott taking 2nd place. He got the fastest lap in yesterday's race. He didn't do that today. Fastest lap to Cammish. Nico Maranzano is on the podium again. Scott incidentally wins the scholarship class for the drivers with very, very limited or no single-seater experience from Maranzano. And Sam McLeod, the guest driver, let's hope that we can welcome him back to Formula Ford very soon, because it was a superb weekend for the 18-year-old from Hertfordshire who comes home in 4th place. But the first half of the season has been a complete Dan Cammish JTR lockout.
Yeah, absolutely superb from Cammish. You know, I think mentioned earlier, best car in the best team. That's a very, very controversial comment. So I'd say that those red cars are pretty good as well. And there's some very talented drivers. At the moment, though, the best package seems to be Cammish. The results speak for themselves. He's done it under pressure. He's done it by driving away. And most importantly, he's done it. He's done 15 races out of 15. You cannot fail to be impressed by that.
Well, let's just hope that this is a springboard for Dan Cammish to be able to move his motor racing career in the direction that it deserves to be moved in. The crowd have really enjoyed that. You've seen Dan doing what you have to do from the front. They've seen the likes of Jade Kruger overtaking coming through. Here's the result, round 15 of the Dunlop MSA Formula Ford Championship Great Britain. Dan Cammish, 15 out of 15, appropriately 15 laps, so some good feng shui going on there. Harrison Scott second from Pablo Maranzano, then Sam McLeod in fourth from Juan Rosso. Jade Kruger, great drive up into sixth place ahead of Andy Richardson. Sean Thong in eighth from Cameron Kaminski and Sam Brabham in 10th. 11th place goes to James Abbott, retirement sadly for Lassie Halmanen and Rob Shield. The championship table looks like this. Of course, it's Dan Cammish at the top. Top scholarship runner is Nico Maranzano in second on 3:11. Then Harrison Scott third from Juan Rosso. Cameron Kaminski is fifth from Sam Brabham. James Abbott seventh from Andrew Richardson and George Blundell. Lassie Halmanen into the top 10. And we'll hear from Dan Cammish, the winner. There he is after this short break.
Dunlop Tyres are proud sponsors of the BTCC.